Just everything you say will be immortalised, so okay, so this is a purely information session, this next meeting. So we'll open it again with a karakia. Pātaka, te hao ki te uru, Thank you very much. Okay, apologies that will roll on from the last meeting.
I seek for lateness.
Seek for lateness
and
again.
Tyrone is an apology.
Apology. And we didn't move it for that?
No.
Oh, no? Okay, roll on. Okay. No open forum. Go straight into the workshop items. Community Parks Rolling Review Program for 26 to 29. So,
The Friday is online. Yeah.
Friday or not?
Hi, thanks for having me. Sorry, apologies I couldn't be there in person today. Just dealing with a few staffing shortages today. Thanks for having me along. The reason I'm here is to talk about the Community Parks Rolling and Renewal Program, which is a capital program that we roll out every year. And this is just an opportunity for me to just present what the draft program looks like for you all for the next few years. So thanks for bringing that one up on the screen. So I'll take the workshop cover sheet as read, and if you head into that PowerPoint. So I'll go through what is in the rolling renewal program. So obviously I mentioned it's a capital expenditure. It's really used to replace and refurbish assets that we have within community parks that have sort of met the end of their serviceable life. There's not upgrades. It's one thing to be mindful of. We don't come through and do this to increase levels of service. It's to maintain our levels of service. The budgets are set through the long-term plan process, and all the different programs are set between different parks teams. So regional parks have their own program, community parks, we have our own program. So today it's just community parks that I'm talking about. So we go through that next slide. Okay, so how do we determine? Thank you. Yep, so how do we determine it? It's mainly through our asset condition program, monitoring program. So we look at its condition rating between, they can have a rating from 1 to 5, 1 being very poor, 1 being very good. We try to aim to have everything sort of 3 and above. So we look at its performance. Is it going to be used a lot? So if we've got an asset in a park that actually no one really tends to use that now for whatever reasons, we'll have a look at actually, is that the right thing to do to replace it? Or do we put that money somewhere else to replace other assets that are in more need? We usually split them into 3 categories as well. So when we have our program, we fix the first year, we know what we're going to do. The years after that, so the second year and the third year and the fourth year, there's some flexibility in those years. So if you've got assets in parks that they're deteriorating, we're getting a lot of complaints, what I want to hear from you guys, I want to understand what those repairs and fixes and renewals are, so that maybe we can have a look at where it could fit into the program. We might be able to juggle some things around to get it done sooner rather than later. The only thing is we've got to make sure that we still are within those existing budgets. Generally we are, though. So how do we determine? I sort of already touched on this. The asset condition rating, the safety of our assets is something that we always address. The community use and demand, the asset criticality as well. Do we maybe only have that one type of asset in the whole of the parks portfolio, and renewing it to a high degree is important. We try to align a lot of our projects as well. So if we know we're coming through and renewing a playground, if the hard surfaces need replacing as well, then we'll try to tie those into one program of work, one project, sorry. Sometimes there's some legal requirements as well, but not too much in the community park space. If you hit the next slide, please. Cool. So the next couple of slides are just some examples of what we do. So like I said, renewals aren't a over and above, okay? That's just to replace what's currently there. So we maintain our levels of service. So example A, on the right-hand side, the picture is of just a garden bed. This is, I think, is at Washington Skate Park. You've got some rogue plants. The mulch is really thin. There's weeds, dead plants. Not a lot of pruning happened. So on the left-hand side, this is what the team will come and do. They'll clear out those dead plants, those rogue plants. They'll prune. Often they'll replenish soils if the soils are depleted, and they'll plant, and then they'll mulch. So we're renewing it to the standard that it was. And the next one, playgrounds. So playgrounds is part of our renewal program as well. We try to replace for like as much as possible. Sometimes we can come a little bit unstuck because or we have to look for pieces of equipment that have the same type of play elements and play value, because they're not always around forever. So on the top picture, you can see there where we've come through and we've renewed one playground. At the far distance, you can actually see there's what's called a rocktopus, that yellow spinning item at the back there. Yeah, that one there. So those are no longer, we don't have them anymore. They're not manufactured anymore. So we try to find pieces of equipment that is most like that on the market as we can to replace it with. And that's that wee spinny thing now you see down on the bottom right corner. It spins around, so you still get that, kids get that feel of circulation, but it looks quite different. But we try to retain that type of play where we can. And we also bring things to new modern standards. So the swings, instead of being just those one simple strap, in the background there, we've got some baby swings with a bit more security around them. And there's a swing where actually an adult can come in and they can sit on the other side and swing with their child. So we bring things into the sort of current modern safety standards as well. So I think that's the end of those slides. What we could do now is bring up the draft program, if you've got it there handy. And I can take any questions before this is being brought up, if you would like.
Oh, sorry. Question here.
Oh, sorry. Done?
Kathy, you got a question?
Yeah, just really quickly, just the like-for-like replacements. What if would you do the community feedback thing to sort of see if it's working out, or things change? Yeah, or they prefer a certain toy, but you think the like-for-like is the better option.
For playgrounds, we do. To make sure that we still got that right. So things like gardens and hard assets, we don't seek feedback on those, but for playgrounds we do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, please carry on.
Okay, so looking at the program at the top there, we've got play and recreation facilities. So this year you've got Le Bon's Bay coming up. So this is just for the top one there. Sorry, it's just item renewal. So that's not the whole playground. That's just because you've got an item in there that's reached the end of its life and needs to be renewed. So we've just got Le Bon's this year. Next year we don't have anything that's been identified in the program. In FY28 we've got a couple, and then another one at Kaituna at the end there, just the slide. They've been identified in FY28. The next one is green asset renewals. Now, because you guys have your own maintenance team over on the Peninsula who's been stood up for a while, they sort of have already hit the ground running. So they've actually completed the green asset renewal for FY26, our current year already, apart from Oxford Street. Now, I know that you guys, obviously, you have reserve management committees over on the Banks Peninsula, and some of these sites are in areas where there are reserve management committees. So we'll just make sure that our maintenance guys are aware of that, and we link in with some of those reserve management committees. And if the committees want to do the plantings themselves, we can always just purchase the plants out of this program and give them to them to use. So they don't have to use any other types of funding. So we can support them that way. But with that, because we do have some gaps there, I know I said I don't like to touch FY26 too much because it's locked in, but because they've completed those, if you know, and for the green asset renewal, if you know of parks that have gardens that are quite depleted, then we can have a look at bringing some of those FY27, 28 sites into FY26 for them to deliver this planting season, if you'd like. The hard surface renewal, again, we've got quite a large program in front of us this year, so I really don't want to touch that one too much if we can avoid it. It's quite ambitious to get through all of these this year. We're just about to sign our new hard surface panel contract, so we're hoping we'll get through quite a lot, but it will be quite a push. If you can keep scrolling down for us, thank you. Right, so these projects, although they're not, these ones aren't part of the capital rolling renewal. However, they are standalone projects that do have some green elements and hard surface elements and play space projects within them. So I just wanted to highlight them here to you today because we do have actually quite a bit going on in the peninsula at the moment. We've obviously got the Corsair Bay, Cass Bay, play space renewals. Kirk is coming up as well, and Stoddart Point, we're going to deliver that as one program of work. Akaroa Tennis Courts renewal, as many of you will be aware, is underway. Magazine Bay and Park Terrace Reserve. Now that one, we're going to try and link that renewal in with the work that's happening at Naval Point. And that sort of brings us, I guess, to the end of what I had to communicate today. So open for questions.
Thank you very much, Brodie. Any questions, please? Yes.
Hi, Bridie. Another quick question. Is Albion Square in your community parks? And I'm not sure what Oxford Street and the Cass Bay Walkway is.
Albion Square for which activity would that be?
For Albion Square? I guess it's a mix of kind of public space. It becomes like space for musicians, a market. It's got a tiny playground space, and it's just got some mosaic things. And we do Anzac memorial, service there as well. Multi-use.
Yeah, I don't have it in the renewal program for existing assets that need to be replaced there. If it's maybe, it sort of sounds perhaps more like more maintenance is required, so it's ready for those events. Is that?
Yeah, no, I just thought it was one of the community parks because they've increased their level of kind of, I suppose, litter picking in those spots. So that became a regular service thing.
Okay, yeah, it is a community park, and the staff over there are maintaining and doing more in terms of maintenance, but in terms of renewal, we don't have anything.
Oh, renewal. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Just on Albion Square there.
Yeah.
One of the things the board has asked for a while has been some irrigation for the little bit of grass that goes around the memorial. I'm not sure what's happened to that. It's obviously got lost in the process, but they've often asked because it dries out so much in summer and looks terrible. There isn't any irrigation at all. So that's not a renewal. That would be an upgrade kind of thing. I don't know if it's possible.
That's right. That would be an upgrade, correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I had a
Lynn,
question.
maybe?
I was just wondering what the, I mean, I suppose there's a lot of detail we could ask about here, but what the redevelopment at Port Levy, what does that include?
The redevelopment at Port Levy. That one is the toilet block.
Which is already happening.
Yeah, that's in flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one's already FY26 to be delivered, so FY27. We'll probably come and update you a bit more about that one. There's a bit more work that needs to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Lynn, let's see you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, just if we can scroll back to the top, I just got a question around the general, what is it, planned play items renewal. I just noticed there under the year 27, there's nothing in there. Does that mean that something can be pushed down? Or
Yep. So we could flatten it. So we've got St James Drive and Birdlings Flat taking place in FY28. There's we could accommodate one of those. We could bring one of them forward. If you know that there's actually, hey, this one it's quite important. Let's bring it forward if we can. We can do that. Yep.
does that mean that we would have to change something else, or is that just open to?
I think usually what we'd do is we'd ask for something to be pushed back, so that the program doesn't get too heavy in one year compared to another. But because you don't have anything identified, FY27, there's we wouldn't ask you to push anything back.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All good.
Very good. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much, Ryan. We'll just
Cool. Thank you. If you have any requests to move the program around, just let me know.
thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to Lavon's Bay Landscape Plan. Anna.
Hi, so this is Bruce and Joe from the Lavon's Bay Reserve Committee as well.
See you, Joe.
So what we're looking at, so in the notes there is the landscape plan. This is really to look at the Reserve Committee can approve the planting and removal of some trees, so that is within that, but then there is a addition of a boardwalk and a track within that landscape plan. What has changed since I wrote the report is we do have funding for the path, not the boardwalk. And just to show, I don't think the landscape plan showed it, but on the track extension is coming off Rue de la Mer, which is in the top left corner there coming out. Yeah. So the track would be just extending over the area that has to create a bit of a more stable space, kind of route over where rabbits have been digging holes. And to about there. Okay. And yeah, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, we've had over the years problems with the poplars, and whilst it's disputed, after living there for 45 years, we have seen them come up through the tennis courts, as they do onto the cricket pitch by right 1 metres. So we're delighted that the original identified poplars have now been removed. But we see this as stage 1 because that same problem with root intrusion is apparent further down where we have our septic tank. And when we had to deal with that about 10 years ago, I suppose, we had to really bowl the pitch in and what have you. The man from Charlie's Takeaway said that he had never seen one as bad as that, with the exception of the public toilet outside of the Lavon's Bay Reserve. And the root intrusion was so bad, it had just gone right through the septic tank and into the pipes and stuff like that. So that next proposed section, which we're not dealing with today, is very important in order to maintain that sewage system. So, yeah, we think it's great that the council's looking at allowing this to happen, and we do think the track from Woodville, the extension, we're being plagued by rabbits, and they're quite large holes. So as it's used frequently for the people living in that beach area, once they've been to the hall for a function or whatever, it's a big ankle twister. You're just putting a foot in it at night time, there's no lighting out here or anything. So if it's kind of, if you've got got vision problems and you have to look ahead rather than down.
My wife could find that out. Yeah, just on that, it's free bench.
So the ECAN actually, rates go towards rabbit control, so I've been in touch with their contact and it sounds like they're actually going to do shoot this week with them and Commission's Committee, so pest-free banksmanship does not control rabbits. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is, sorry.
That track has always been there. And it's got a layer of, had a layer of clay about yay thick. But that will not damage when the bluegum trees were pulled down. They're growing too big, and the neighbour said, they're a danger to us, so we got rid of them. But when the trees came down, that sort of smashed up all the clay, and it's never been re-established. And it's not only the rodents that get in there, the birds love to have a bit of a play too. So but it's only about 30 metres from the bottom of the stream through to where it goes up the hill by the tennis courts there. And it's really a maintenance thing. It's not a capital item or anything like that. So we've been surprised why it's almost coming out to Parliament to get it sorted out.
We're cheese makers, it takes a long time. Okay, thank you. Is there anything else?
No, so this is just coming here before you go to the consultation.
No, it's great to get that information. There's been a lot of time in the bottom as a kid. I've taught karate over many years. So yeah, it's a great little asset. And I want to commend the work that the Reserve Committee do. I mean, for that amount of volunteer hours you guys put in, it's really fantastic, and thank you for your work and service. Thank you very much. Any other questions, guys?
No, I think I agree with what you said about that track. It does create a loop around the land as well, and it goes to the beach. And the sooner it is sorted, the better it is. Yeah. Glad that the red shows. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Anna. Moving along now, Kookaburra sites. We have Stuart McLeod. The outside, you think? No.
Oh, it's 11.
Where was the toilet? Adjourn, 10 minutes? We'll just have a 10-minute adjournment, guys, to explain to Stuart. We're running ahead of time, so I'm sorry to
Mhm.
cover. Thank you. Hey, thanks for getting over here. Must be a face to face.
Our pleasure, thank you for having us.
Let's get on with. We've got Marie online.
Maria.
Maria. Hey, Maria, can you hear us? Good, thank you. Okay, it's have this table.
Yeah, Cooking Parside School and setting. It's obviously been around for a long time, and we thought that the board need a briefing to, an update where we're at, and this briefing is for information only about where we've come from and what's next.
Excuse me, Stuart, I think we haven't introduced to Marie.
Marie. Oh, Marie. I'm sorry. Marie, that was on my Marie Gordon. No, sorry. So Cooking Parside School, halfway down the road from Summit Road to Pigeon Bay. It's got a local purpose community building reserve classification, and between that and the residents, the closest residents, there's a recreation reserve. It's a scheduled as a heritage item in the district plan. Council 2017 resolved that no repair work would be undertaken until we had a new sport building. We've been through quite a request for proposal scheme. Originally, the first request for proposal, the preferred respondent at that time decided not to pursue it. Since then, a private individual and for a federal trust made continuing inquiries about it, and we decided to go to a closed RFP. There'd been no other interest, and PWT came as the preferred respondent of that process. They want to use the site for their own purposes, which is marrying mental health and our services. And they also want to make this facility available for about a third of the time for the year. August 22 is when we first reported to the board, and the board noted the intended future use that we were looking at that time, but required more information. But since that time, we've gone through the gathering process. The last LTP got a budget of, restoration costs from the architect was $701,000. We've got a long-term fund that's received the total $586,000. That's just a timeline, some of which I've covered, up through to the character architect timing there and getting the concept design. Customers received that $701,000. The design and costings with PWT and legal review left us listed on the bottom there. Images. They had a legal review of the process at that time. This is an RFP process, which the legal team said, well, you're in a process now. We can't deviate from that. We need to see it through to its conclusion, whatever that will be. From here, from earlier this year, lease negotiations commenced, recommenced with PWT and are ongoing. Currently, their legal team have reviewed it. PWT representatives have reviewed it, and so our legal team are going to have further discussions with what that lease will look like in the coming months. In May, we had a discussion with the governance team on how best to move forward, and that's resulted in this briefing update to the board and decision that it should go to consultation in 2026. Where to from here? This covered that continuing discussions with PWT on the lease terms. We will conduct community consultation in the first quarter of 2026, all going well. Always said that we will consult the community. And there will be an options report put before the board for a decision that will contain the lease details, community feedback, against the board's decision.
Very good. That's it, Stuart, is it? Right, I was,
Questions, I'm sure you have.
yes, I have got a question. Sorry? Yeah, I actually was there when we had that conversation about more information required. And I think that information probably, in my mind, was more about the actual use, how that use would look. You know, whether that's at the school for mental health and understanding how would that work in that sort of detail. I think there would be more information I'd like back once we get to the end of this. Have you got any comment about that?
First comment is that the report that comes back to the board will detail that. It'll be full and comprehensive. PWT have a good website that has a lot of information about what they do and who they do it, who they do the work for. So I would suggest that could be looked at.
Just one other, what will that consultation with the community look like? I mean, we're having all this other stuff with another thing happening over here, and it's very complicated and very emotional about what they communicate and how they communicate.
Yeah, good question. That's still being formulated. We imagine that the local community have to be directly involved. I'm not sure how that's going to look as yet, but what we will do is we'll refer back to governance advisors and ask whether that's local meetings. There will be advertising in the paper. It's meetings on site. There will be advertising.
Yeah, okay, any other questions, folks? Lynn, sorry.
No, that's fine, no problem at all. Just a question. So there's nothing has been decided. So is that correct? There's been no decisions. We're just going through the process of what things could look like and consultation around that. Am I correct with that?
That is correct. The only decision that's been made is that PWT are the preferred respondent. No decisions have been made on leasing it to them.
Yep, great. Thank you.
Very good.
Just a couple of little points. Just checking, did you say a third of the time that would be available for broader?
Federal Trust's proposal, they were suggesting that a third of the time can be for community use. Dedicated community use. They said that it could be about Maori education, it could be education about the history of Pitkin Bay, it could be flats weaving.
So it sounds like it's together with them, but offering things to the wider community. Yeah. Okay. And I had another question following up on a email that we received from Daniel Smith. I mean, possibly it's getting into detail, but it's there was questioning about overnight accommodation. Is that part of what's the story with that? Is that part of what Rākaihautū Trust are proposing, and is that consistent with what the original request for proposals?
Yeah. That is a PWT idea to have, I think, up to 6 pods on site for accommodation.
Oh, yeah.
So the answer to your question is yes, they recognise and have stay on site.
6 pods, did you say?
They, from memory, they refer to eco pods, but they need to be, I think they're talking about shipping them in.
Oh, yeah.
Sleeping accommodation.
So, a segue to that, what does that require research consent?
Yes, what they do.
Happy with that? Okay, that's it.
Yeah, thank you. Here I got quite a few questions. So basically, there is what questions that the community has raised. We'll start with the timeline. August 2022. Board, sorry.
Can you speak up?
Yeah, so August 2022, the board passes the resolution and asks staff to do further work, engage the community prior to reporting back to the board. I just want to ask what community engagement have you done since then?
I haven't done anything specifically. I believe there was a update via email to community. Dropped 2 emails, I think Mary. So was email was part of her group, and I think that went out to other people as well. That was an update of December 22, but I'm not aware of any specific communication, or detailed communication with the community since that time. There's been nothing really to add that's changed.
Yes, so there will be just a communication market. So there hasn't been any engagement since then. So after the resolution, are you planning to do something like that after this meeting? Or is it not on tap?
This meeting is information only. I guess there would be no harm in it, but I wasn't planning to, because there's no further information provided as yet. And this information session has anything we can pass on.
So that, yeah, if I could just jump in, so the plan is that the consultation happens early next year, you said, and then the report would come to the board after that. So that the consultation, but they've needed to wait to do the consultation until you had more information about the costings, this is what I thought, and the more details about the proposal, so you could put enough information into the consultation. Is that correct? Right.
Yes, I think the word engage with the community. So there is a more an informal engagement, not a consultation that would be more organized plan, but would require more resources. So I'm just referring to that. For what I understand is there hasn't been any engagement since then. Is that correct? Thank you. And second question. At the time of this RFP proposal was put forward, community also put a proposal.
No, they didn't. It was originally, as I outlined earlier, first RFP round, there was one proposal received, and the respondent decided not to proceed at that time. PWT and private individual kept asking about the use of this building, and at that time we decided to do a closed RFP for those 2 people that showed continued interest, and we ended. From that, PWT were out of the respondent and we entered into this process with them. Now, I think from memory, approximately a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, the community put in, an individual from the community put in an alternative proposal, which I think members of the community got together. And that's when we got the legal opinion about the process we were in. We're obliged to follow through with this process to get a decision sometime next year.
So basically we are going through that proposal being aware that the community is interested in
that will be also form part of the report that after we put an proposal, we gave and the legal team gave an opinion on what process we were now in a proposal with, sorry, the process with PWT. See that through, whatever that will be.
So this question is just for, so that the community understand what it is. The council is legally obliged to follow through this process. And at the end of the day, it is this board or any other board will make a decision next year or the following year. And then at the time, if board decides it rejects that proposal, then the community proposal will be put forward if it's still there.
Marie might stop me if I'm wrong, but if the board said no, we would have to then consider what are we holding this site for, what are we going to do with it? And we have to reconsider what our process will be and what we can do.
We would take direction from the board as to what step to take next with advice given to you about what your options are. Is it start again and go through a process? Is it knowing that you've got an interested party and not inviting anyone else to participate in that process and move forward on that or other? But we kind of need to give this process due attention and an end point before we can say what that might look like or what the options that the board at the time will have.
Thank you very much.
Just to sort of, so people will have a chance to make individual submissions to this. Prior to us, I just want to clarify. Okay, no, just.
No, my question around that is partly answered by Asif, but is this going to be part A? So it would be a recommendation to council?
It's a board decision.
Okay. Okay. Good.
What? Sorry, I didn't hear the answer. What was the answer?
Oh, no, it's our decision.
Okay.
Not a part A.
Okay, great.
Part A is, we make a decision, then it's got to be ratified by council, or they can change it. So, no, the decision made here. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay. Anything else? We've got it covered well.
Do I see have more questions?
I had one more question. Let's find the email. Sorry.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah, so in terms of the costing, so we are looking at council spending $750,000 to do it up and then hand it over to this to PWD. So if community puts a proposal, similar proposal, is council willing to put similar amount of money, do it up and then hand it over to the community?
Maria, do you want to speak to that?
Kūkapa Hostel is a heritage building, and that was part of the tranches that council decided a use needed to be determined for those buildings before council would repair them. So as long as we have a viable use, council will repair it, and the funding is in the long-term plan.
Thank you very much. It's just like you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much. It's a very tough what you guys do. And good to see a thorough job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's sort of warranted coming over here.
Hope you enjoyed the day.
That's
Spend some dollars here. Back on the boat. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. For lunch. Okay, so we'll turn a broadcast. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Rose. Okay, welcome back everybody, anyone who's still listening up there. Hi Lynn, good to see you still with us. Hope everyone had a good lunch. First up this afternoon is waste policies, free waste dumping, litter and illegal dumping. Olivia, Tanya and Anna, please. Right, welcome.
But we're currently working on reviewing the free waste dumping policy. Introduce yourself. I'm Olivia, waste organisation advisor in the resource recovery team.
And I'm Tanya Lees, I'm the team leader in the resource recovery team.
And I'm Nigel Harrison, acting chair, and we have.
I'm Gillian Fraser from Washington.
I'm Melissa Wells. I'm representing
from that was.
Kathy Lumwood, Littleton Subdivision.
Thank you. And of course, another online. The chair. Okay, here we go.
So we're working on renewing the free waste dumping policy, and we're also looking at introducing an illegal dumping policy as well. And so at the moment, while it's in a draft state, we'd like to get some feedback from the community boards, because of course, you know, the litter and illegal dumping situations of your boards best. And so we want to make sure that those experiences that you guys have over the policy. Yeah. Just like that.
So we've prepared a few questions to work our way through. So we're interested in your feedback, but if something comes to you after this meeting, feel free to follow up. Yeah.
So we will be circulating this as well, just for questions. So our first question, what are the issues you guys currently experience when dealing with waste issues? And we are thinking quite to litter.
It's not so much the experience with people dumping, but what we're doing about it in our communities on like gathering the waste, getting data, and what we would like to see better for our communities. So in Littleton, there's like 3 main groups I can think of that do like regular litter cleanup. So the next part you say about supporting them would be amazing, because they all need support with volunteers. And that would be, the next phase is we collect, I think an example of one of the groups, which is a collaboration Project Littleton and Harbour Business Association, collecting a ratio of 40 to 60 recycling and rubbish. And so the demand for a recycling bin in Littleton itself would be very good, and I think they would do well. And a collection, like I think, is it every other month we go, or every 3rd month, something like that, quite regular. Been going since end of 2022. An average of about 50 kilos of waste. And that's kind of around the center of around Littleton, the car park, the CBD we call it. And then you've got your community groups, beach cleanup, Mother of All cleanups, Conservation New Zealand, all those groups doing cleanups. Lots of data around that we can provide, get it from the group. In the past with waste minimization, you had a hazardous waste person. I think she's now kind of gone broader into all of Canterbury or something, her role. Anyway, we talked about doing batteries recycling and stuff in New Zealand. And I think immediately when they talked about it was like, at the time, this is going back 3 years, I've been here 3 years. It was about $9,000, and at that time they were like, no, we can't do it. But it's good to see that Mitre 10 and other places are doing. And we were keen as
we do
Littleton battery, like AA batteries, or
so
it'd be lovely to revisit.
We do have those at the transfer stations in Christchurch, but we could look at
But
something to look into.
oh, that would be amazing. I'd love to revisit that one. But of course, it'll have to go back to the groups where the discussions kind of started. Yeah, I think those are, I used to be a wasteland advisor at council 28 years ago. Someone just reminded me, like, Kathy, that was like 28 years ago. So, oh my God. So yes, I kind of feel like after all those years, we haven't really moved further. We're still talking about recycling. We're still talking, yeah. So be really good to, yeah, at least in Littleton to be like recycling should just be the norm, not having to kind of fight for getting these bins into our streets. And the community are engaged, I think, or could get more engaged if, yeah. Yes, very passionate about it. Yeah. Okay, that's me, I think. Sorry.
That's very useful, thank you.
Yeah.
Should I put away? I guess for illegal dumping, it's not excessive. However, there has been an increase over the last few years of people dumping their rubbish around rural areas. I obviously don't know who these people are. I would opine that perhaps they're not locals. I can't imagine many locals would do that in the community, you know, it's generalisation. So what happens? Typically, I would just put something through snacks and sold. I've lived in Melbourne previously, and what the councils often do over there, and I think we used to do it here, is annually there would be a collection of people who had a lot of hard rubbish that they wanted to dispose of. It was a free collection service. I don't know if that's something that
It's costly. It's very costly. It has been looked at a couple of times in the past. You're talking millions and millions of dollars a year down that track. So yeah, I'm not sure if that would be quite on the agenda. With the illegal dumping, is it certain spots? Like, is it?
Yeah,
it
usually
becomes
kind of like the Pony Point.
Yes,
what you
the
heading
car
for?
park.
Yeah, car park kind of common areas where you
Yeah.
can stop, dump your rubbish and run.
And is it sort of the rubbish that would fit in a rubbish bin normally, or is it
Usually-
bigger stuff?
Kind of like, building materials, hard tires,
Yeah.
that
So
sort of
stuff that should go to the
Yeah.
transfer station.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I mean, that's, it has been more noticeable over the last few years.
Yeah.
Cost of living, of course, people can't afford to go to the dump. So how is that managed, I suppose?
At the moment through snacks and sold. But yeah, this is what we're looking at, and for a long-term plan, how do we address it? I mean, it's obviously illegal dumping is a big issue in Christchurch itself as well. Yeah, it's sort of just getting a handle on, you know, is it a service issue that people don't have enough capacity, or is it that they just don't want to pay for it? And how we work on that, and whether we look at different options like having a little team that look at hotspots, that type of thing. So that's all part of the research we're doing at the moment.
Thank you. But yeah, it's mainly those kind of carpool, stop, usually late at night, next morning, dump off. Yeah.
Anything else? Sure, you got it.
Yeah, I've got thank you. Just reading the page you have provided the link to West Dumping Policy. I just noticed that it says that this is not available for businesses. So you're talking about community.
Yeah.
So our community here in the Peninsula, the biggest impediment that we have is travel to dump. We've got one dump here that's not always open. And we live pretty much 2-hour drive from now, so 4 hours of drive. So the biggest issue, I think I personally say, and the reason why people dump it, it's not just a cost, it is, it's not a convenient way to dispose of material. And secondly, historically, farmers and other local communities, they had certain stocks to dump. So when those stocks were closed, there was not an alternative provided to those people. So I think when we bring these policies or illegal dumping, I'm sure there will be some penalties such as that. It would be a good idea to provide alternative for people so that they can use those facilities. Either it is a reduced cost or once in a month some collection trailer park somewhere. There are a number of businesses that I know personally, like building and gardening work they do. They don't have, they're just startups. They don't have enough disposable income onto them to make their business profitable. I don't think they. So that is the biggest issue we have. Nigel would agree.
Didn't catch all that, but yeah, I know the garden guys and all that. They do get you dumping out of those.
Not all.
Not so, sorry, not all.
Not every time they can use the facility because there is certain hours and the time.
Time frame. For
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay.
So
Well, I'm not doing anything about it. I mean, we have traders. I don't know, we need to make a little bit of it. I know one guy who was doing, he had his own paddock halfway to Rākaihautū. He used to have regular burn-offs. So there could be a bit of that going on, burn-offs.
Especially building,
Yeah.
building, I know people.
So do you think the hours of the if the transfer station was open more like in town, that would make a difference to the community?
In town, you mean
In Christchurch?
in Christchurch.
Yeah.
Again, the transport, the time. There are two builders working on a job. One builder has to go to Christchurch pretty much twice a week. That is 4 hours every time that person goes to Christchurch. So an alternative option, I don't know how it would look like. I don't know much about waste management as such, but it is an inconvenience and cost for small businesses.
And there's some commercial providers on the peninsula though, I believe.
No, could be, there are waste managements that do, but I'm also aware of what Nigel mentioned, that people have got places that they burn there. So not everyone has got those facilities.
Yeah, I think the question would have to be asked in a broader context rather than here, into the business. What that would look like. It's just I don't know, some sort of a feedback session online or something, I don't know. But there is, because those people that have made work around us have solved their own problem, and they haven't solved it for everyone that's on there. Yes, okay, thank you. I just would like to say a little bit on the Aotearoa's turned into a bit of a dog tourist area. I talk about heritage tourism a lot. I'm starting to think about dog tourism. And walking dogs over here has been a huge issue. So now they have a lot of bins, all the bins are taken and obviously put into sort of one sort of area. A few more bins down the main street off the park eliminate a lot of the views. Most of them get picked up, but having somewhere to put that back. I don't have to take it back, send it to Christchurch, throw it out the window on the way back. Might be a good thought. Anyway, is there anyone else for anything?
Batteries for a battery station for winter.
Possibly sure.
So, yeah, we'll have a look at it. So at the moment, we've got about 6 in Christchurch. I'm expanding that slightly. I really need to be very strategic because there's a cost involved with collection that is obviously more expensive on one side of town than the other. It may be that we've got something in at Barry's Bay at the transfer station itself. But yeah, I can look at it, but there is a cost in collection, there is a cost in disposal, and it's also about where we can get the best bang for buck. So we can look at definitely adding it to it, but it's not a given, it is a little bit strategic.
So Tanya, you were asked, I thought you were asking us if the extension to the hours at both would help.
Yeah.
Was that, did you answer?
No, I didn't get the answer because it wasn't, at the moment, I'm sure the council staff wouldn't know that how it would look like.
Well, I mean, if you were to tell us that the problem is that people are illegal dumping because they can't get here, it's certainly something we can look at.
Yep.
It's feedback rather than us telling you what we're going to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Because what we're working on is anecdotal situations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, we're just giving you what we hear or so.
Perfect. That's what we're after. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
You got another one? haven't you?
Yeah.
So how does your board currently engage with the wider network to deal with the illegal dumping?
Walk down the main street. Be prepared to stop. Listen.
So people approach you, residents approach you.
Oh, absolutely, one or two in particular are very diligent.
Yeah. And do they use Snaps in Soul? Is that how they normally?
We promote it a lot, but then a lot of the older generation aren't really geared up for it. I had a situation just a few days ago with a woman, apparently a older woman, fell flat on a post stuck in a hole that's on Pātaka. And someone asked me to report to the council. I said, no, these are the tools you got. It's important, public use of these tools. You go, so they can go, they know they can go to the service centre, they can do a CSA. Or do something about themselves. So there is, I think, that education to the greater community is very important.
Most communities are very vocal on social media. It's something that's dumped particularly share focal point for them to be referred to on some kind of maybe an education campaign.
Yeah.
Do you ever see with the illegal dumping, is it a particular thing you're seeing a lot of, like furniture or large metal items, or is there kind of a trend that you've seen or you've heard from your communities that's a problem?
Just general household rubbish, building supplies, tyres.
Generally, like the old couch you don't want, you just run up the lines and they'll come and get it.
Yeah.
And they end up dumping half of what they pick up. So lines are actually providing a wonderful service.
Yeah.
And the rest they put on the recreation ground every year and sell it off.
Yeah.
So that's our way of dealing with a lot of that stuff. People know they'll just pick it up, even if they don't want it.
Yeah.
One observation that I had, a farmer done what is this put on the wall?
The board?
Chipboard. It appeared as if it was done, but he did it because apparently there's some asbestos. Some it would dissolve into and provide new fertilizer for the trash. I don't know, chalk. Gypsum or something. So I have seen a couple of times. So I don't know whether it will come under waste dumping policy or visually it is bad for, or even everyone thought it was snow. So maybe does your policy cover that? Visual
not at the moment. It's first time I'm using it.
But there are a few options for it. Winston just done a trial up in Napier where they're getting the off-cut sent back in 1 ton bags and then they'll take it back to the factory, split it out into paper and chip, and then reconstitute it into chipboard. You can feed the chipboard into a composting process, but it's hard to get it consistent. You tend to get hot spots, and of course, if there's too much over the air, then it doesn't work as intended. And if you don't handle it correctly, you get the hydrogen sulfide from the extra. That's what it's into. So there are options out there in the marketplace, but that's probably more something for us to look at the transfer station. Have we got a separate bay for chipboard that we like, and how we run off for all that sort of stuff. So that's more a functional thing of all we'll ever do is collect the stuff free from contamination and then pass it on to the market to process it into something
That's interesting. Yeah, there was lasted for over a year. The new lady wasn't appealing in a very place, which is a reserve and adjacent. So maybe something. Thank you.
Sorry, it's probably more a question. Is there a reporting line if you witness illegal dumping, and what are the penalties if there are?
Yes, there is a enforcement team in council, but to actually do something about it, they would need a witness that would be prepared to go to court, if it went to court. They would also, or they would need actual footage of that person doing it. So it's not that easy, although in saying that, they can contact people and let them know. So like we had an example recently at the Bootlands Factory Transfer Station, which is only open 3 hours on Saturday. Someone broke in, dumped a whole heap of stuff, locked up and left. And there was a letter from a lady in Spraydon, didn't prove that she'd done it. But somebody contacted her and just let her know in case she paid somebody to actually get rid of that rubbish, and that's what they've done with it. So you can log a call with the customer centre and it can be looked at, but essentially you need a witness or you need video proof of that, which is not that easy. Yeah.
There is a review at the moment by the central government to rewrite the Restoration Act and that, and that's been driven mainly by the Act of the government. And they are looking to increase the penalties significantly. But the government push is still on the council to make the police sort of expensive. But maybe the raising of the fine will act as a further deterrent, but quite often you can spend more on legal fees to cover it. And that assumes that even if you levy the fine, they might not pay it. So you're going to take them to court to get the money back. So it's not a perfect system at the moment. I think if the fines were a lot higher, then that might act as a deterrent without ever having to fine. That's, we don't want to fine people, we want them just to change the behaviour.
Very good. Anyone else? Move on. Let's move on, guys.
So would you like to have more control over which groups in your community are funded to deal with it?
Do you have the funds to support groups that do good work?
Imagine if we did, so, you know, so not at the moment, no. I mean, there is a little bit. There are some teams that they're paying for it anyway. That so if someone did a lot of cleanup, they could say, look, we've done this, or they can do it in advance. They can say, we're going to do X, and they'll be given some bags and some gloves, they can do it and take it along under that. But I mean, we're looking at different options. So that might look like each of the community boards might get an amount of money for the year, and you might decide how that's going to look in the community. I'm not saying it's going to happen, I'm just saying that that's an idea, like that could be. Do you think that's a good thing, or do you think someone else should be driving it? Or
I think there's some merit in that, because we do dish out a lot of stuff in the community here around things. Now, I was involved before, I retired back here in Edinburgh, in a business that I used to have my own little clean-up. So I just take the staff out and buy them lunch, and we'd spend 4 hours cleaning up, and we'll end up with a couple of trayloads of rubbish. So to be able to do that and not cost the business anything, we've got a lot to set up somewhere.
do you think there would be potential for like a behaviour change in the community if it was driven more from a community level?
It didn't have a great, community pressure would be much greater than,
That was part of my question. If communities took responsibility for their own waste, for their own composting, we're not dumping it in somebody else's community. So that would drive that behaviour change.
So that you see that as an advantage. Because I think ultimately it's about the behaviour change, really. And cleaning it, it's not so much the cleaning it up. We don't want to be cleaning it up for people. We want communities to say, no, this isn't what we want.
So an example, we have someone who worked really well, I think it's someone like the Lions. And we've got all this stuff, they know there's a lot of rubbish, or they can be run up and come and take around and dump it. And that's it comes in and they actually make it all the money to go back to the community. That's a nice sort of link through the community through something like the Lions or organisation that's doing funding for us.
With a social enterprise.
Social enterprise, thank you, thank you. I knew you were there for reading. Okay, anything else on that one? Or do we
So
move on?
just in terms of the waste minimization and the whole pyramid things, when you talk about education stuff, we're still kind of going down to the user consumer behavior things. For example, in Littleton, it was the consumer that approached the supermarket about the single-use plastic bags. That sort of change would be great too, but from that level of, what would I say, it's hard to legislate or put a, thing, but that kind of angle also very much helps to reduce terrible litter. So I mean, how can we kind of get it from that angle as well?
I think it needs
Not
to
just
come-
community, consumer pressure.
Yeah, I think community pressure is actually the best way it can come from, like, unless it's coming from a government, like the plastic bag ban. Very difficult for a council to say, we'd like you not to do this.
Right.
If the
So it has
people
to
going
come
into,
from-
if the people using the shop are saying, I don't like this,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in this, that's what businesses change. And I remember a few years ago at a conference, they were talking about, they'd gone through, like it was a hardware shop, they had 3 different ladders, one had no packaging around it, one had a little bit, one had a lot. They went to the 2 that had the packaging and said, we won't stock your products anymore unless it comes with no packaging, because there's no need for it to have packaging. And they changed it.
Yeah. But can we then approach government because they want to legislate on how we should, charge more for the dumping, but can we kind of also say that if you legislate for better manufacturing, because we've had this similar discussion on, I think it was about zinc on roofs or something, but they also play a big part in what we do at the end of the life of the product. So
councils are
So
always
in
trying,
between.
like the tyre scheme, for example.
Yeah.
That's been on the go for 15 years before that happened. Like that's something that we're always pushing for, stewardship schemes. Yeah, I mean, there are some really good schemes out there. Probably it's difficult in particularly Nakarawa because it is so far out, but Mighty 10 runs quite a few stewardship schemes, and ultimately we want the people that make the products to be paying for the collection of them and what they're going to do with them rather than us as ratepayers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think as a council can't put pressure back
We
on the
do.
system, yeah.
We do.
So if we collectively put.
Yeah, we're part of a number of national working groups, so we set up ministry advisory boards, so that there's a number of groups working through that. So as Tanya said, there's been 6 stewardship schemes released that made mandatory. And the ministry last year announced that they were going to be pursuing extended producer responsibility, which is what we're talking about. But ultimately, it's the government of the day, the minister of the day, as to whether or not they can see that. And at the moment, they're conflating the 2 with cost of living. So they're saying, well, you'll add more cost to the product, but the reality is the end of life is a hidden cost that we've got to pay as ratepayers generally or wider community. So yeah, we're on board with that, and we're working directly with, not only with the ministry, but also industry and packaging companies that will supply chain. So that work is ongoing.
Okay,
Sorry.
hurry up.
Okay, just one little thing. So when you talk about that, definitely want to support the community groups that do reuse and workshops and the right to repair, that sort of stuff, because it very much is
Part of that.
part of that. So yeah, and there's lots of groups, I could say in Littleton that do
That's
this work.
very proactive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean around the Peninsula. Thank you. So.
How many more questions you have? So we have- Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, there you go.
You've had your say. We've covered everything in one question. Okay.
Any more questions, everyone?
Thank you for addressing that.
Thanks, sorry. Is the line tipping that goes down over cliffs?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's unsafe for our contractors.
Yeah.
Go down and use it. It's quite a bit looking for
That's
the
right.
Did you know?
And you don't see it from the road, you can see it.
Who drafted it?
Oh,
Yeah.
No, you haven't. Have you got any issues with the stuff going over the banks up around the back end?
No, it's, I think we are a little far around in the.
Too far out to go.
Yeah, so.
Too scared of driving off the road.
Yeah, so, dump doesn't get there.
Yeah.
And, we are very good at keeping us so tidy. But yeah, so the point you mentioned about community, this idea is coming from community that is right, it is very effective, whether it is waste or something, whichever, any other ideas as long as and then it's provided, the council support, would be very go a long way.
Thank you, Nancy. We've just got a couple of quick ones.
Sorry, very
30
quick.
seconds.
Just thinking about the fly tipping, a lot of this occurs in areas which aren't well lit, especially around Rākaihautū, for example. There isn't much street lighting, so I don't know if that's something that could be considered in those kind of higher areas of risk.
Just quickly, 30 seconds.
Oh, bins in car parks. I think you've removed some bins, but I think a place where Luana mentioned the car park kind of between the two bays, a lot of rubbish gets collected then. I think it's the weekend sightseers, and they come with their McDonald waste and then,
Maybe they're like little bums.
Yeah. It's like,
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Dave.
much.
And thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Interesting.
It's very good. Thank you for talking to us. Cheers. Okay, moving along, bilingual, locality signage first. Kathy. Stephen.
oh, road signs, yes.
Thank you.
Chair, this is just to provide you an update of the bilingual signage. So I'll talk about the legislation, what is the current legislation, and the types of those signage, and then what's the location, and the next step, what we're going to do. So first, this bilingual signage. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So this is Katie Graham from my team leader, current team leader. So he is coming to support me.
Acting team leader. Just fill it in the box.
So under the TCD rule, which is the traffic control device rule, 2004. So there's some circumstances that most of the traffic signs, they are only in English. Some of the under circumstances they can be bilingual, like what you can see, maybe like Mount Cook or Rocky, they're bilingual signs, but most of the signs, except the Kura school sign, they are mostly in English at the moment. But the NZT and the Whakatahi at the moment is in support from the Ministry of Transport to partner with the Timatawai to have the program work to support this Tirio Maui sign. And if you have known, back in 2023, they have a public consultation done to propose 94 of those bilingual signs, but then that amendments to the TCD rule doesn't proceed. But then we have, because of that, we still have what we call a geographic act that gives the authority to the New Zealand Geographic Board to investigate, to gazette some of the places to have the bilingual, the Maui and the English word. Like Kaioro, Church Bay, and those kind of bilingual that can be used under the Geographic Act. So those under those Act, there's some restriction that can be used. So many, like, it needs to be in one word, one line. If it's too long, the wording, you can have a forward slash. Yeah. / and then have the same font, and the material cannot be italic. So that's the difference between the Geographic Act and also the TCD rule. The TCD rule, at the moment, you have to have the italic wording for the Maori word, so which is a bit different. And then there's no macron, the forward slash under the TCD rule. So there's a difference there. I'll go straight to the different type of signage. And we have threshold sign. What are the threshold signs? Threshold signs are the ones that have commonly used with the speed limit signage and with the locality at the bottom. So normally they're called threshold because they are gated, like a gated when you're approaching a town or a locality. So those are the threshold sign or destination sign. So they are used to define a change in function of the use of road. And that placement is usually influence the change of driver behavior. Say you have like a rural area and then you're approaching a urban area, so you have a slow speed limit. So that threshold sign is that kind of function. Yep. So often this is used as a road treatment. Also, like you can have a road marking as well to visually narrow the road as well, with the flush median in the middle, to narrow the road. So this is this sign also can be used to identify the entry to a district, city, town, and region. And this sign usually installed near the boundary to the region or town and developed as part of the overall regional sign strategy. And they are usually in green color or blue color. But the council at the moment we are adopting using the green color, same as the Rākaihautū, the state highway, to use green color. Yeah. Then there's another type which is called like a place name, destination, or locality sign. So they are just a locality sign that doesn't have any speed limit sign. So that's the only difference. Yeah, I've actually attached in the form that we have at the moment. We have quite a different signage out there. I'm not saying that they're inconsistent. They're just installed throughout the years that comes there. Some of them are blues, some of them are green, some of them have threshold sign with the speed limit threshold sign, and some have just the speed limit sign without the locality sign. They are different signs at the moment that are out there. So we are looking at, I suppose, we slowly try to improve the consistency of the signage that we use. Say if we approach a town or a small suburb, then we can use standardizing some of those signs, like say the threshold sign, and if possible, just make it standard. And go to the last one about the location. The location at the moment is difficult to know where is the boundary of a certain area. Like when we approach, Port Levy or Charteris Bay, and the area is hard to define. And what I actually found in Google Map, you can identify the boundary area. That boundary area, like Charteris Bay, that includes Church Bay and other small locality as well. So how do we define those areas? So it's a consideration as for the board as well, to maybe later on we can identify those boundary area. Then we can proceed with what kind of sign that we can place at the boundary. So that is, yeah. That is what, my presentation about this type.
Okay, thank you very much.
In terms of, sorry, one last one is we actually have a request from the resident association to install the Church Bay Rākaihautū sign for this bilingual sign. So once we have the confirmation, and then we can let the association know about the procedure next, and then where's the location that we can put and what type of sign we will install there.
So just a question on that. My understanding is you need to actually have actually know where that boundary is before you put the sign in, or do you not?
It will be need to be between like 20 to 50 meters of the boundary. So
It does depend if it's a threshold sign, as Evan said, that would include maybe the speed limit, that will need to be within 20 metres of where the speed limit boundary starts.
Okay.
So that would deter, that would have to be in this particular place, but if it was just a name sign or location sign, that would be, obviously want to go back to the boundary, which I think is quite challenging.
Yeah.
And probably just to pick up on what Edwin said around bilingual versus the dual name or the one name. So the bilingual is a translation of the name, whereas something like the Church Bay is an official dual name. So those are the ones we can use at the moment, where there's an official dual name, one name for the area. The bilingual signage, which similar has the Te Reo and the English, there's a number of those signs that haven't been approved yet, and some of the place names aren't approved either. If you have a moment, it's worth reading, I don't know if we've got the link here, but we could share it with the background to the proposed bilingual signage that NZTA did and what they consulted on, and then that's just been held up with the current government. A decision hasn't been made on what that looks like, but it provides quite a lot of information.
Thank you very much. Anyone got any questions?
I just think, so you mentioned the Church Bay one, but also in the Port Levy is another one in that same category.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was just a little bit confused about, I think probably because it is a bit confusing who says what, different people, different organisations, and what they do and don't want. But so Brookside, so Te Reo, they're saying shouldn't be in italics. Some of the examples though that are in the attachment, like item 7, to me that looks like italics.
Yeah. So these are the draft one that I produced through RTL, the contractor that they.
Oh yeah.
But they haven't updated this signs yet. We have requested, but they haven't updated yet.
And it is confusing because the current traffic control devices rule says italics. However, LINZ, who look after the geographic board, have advised that that isn't correct and it should all be in the same font. So it is very confusing.
Very good. Anyone else? Kathy, Kate, got your tongue.
Restart.
The national policies and current government, everything's up in there, and where it's going to go. How would they change this work that you are doing? That whatever goes through is fine and then the rest will stop, or because it's all so confusing to people and myself actually.
Yes, so I think that's where it comes back to currently we can use a dual name, one name that was approved by the Geographic Act, and that can include Te Reo if that's approved. Kura school sign is approved as well. That's the only current bilingual signage that is approved.
anything else will have to wait for the government to make a decision on the whole package or the package of work and what actually is approved to be used. And then that would be included in the updated in the traffic control devices, the amendment done to that to allow it.
If there changes, then your work is kind of wasted.
It would just, yeah, I think it'll mean, obviously, it wouldn't mean you'd probably go out and immediately upgrade signs. These signs will still be used, and you'll see lots of variations of signs around the place, like you can see that are quite old, that probably don't comply. There is a grandfather clause in the traffic control devices that allows those to still be used until they're going to be upgraded through a maintenance contract. So it's not, you're not having to go and spend a lot of money at ratepayers' expense to update those. So it will take time, but it does need to be approved. And I'm aware, there's been circumstances where road controlling authorities have used signage that's not approved in the traffic control devices, and they're told to take them down. Does that make sense to people?
That was cost to the taxpayer.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. You okay up there, Lynn? Yeah, okay.
So, even when you be in touch with Church Bay Neighbourhood Association, explaining what's happening.
And I guess it's just timing around when that can be done, because it will be done as part of the maintenance contract. And I think also it was going to pull together a bit of a schedule of other signs that are currently approved that could be updated as the maintenance contract goes through.
Good. All right, well, thank you very much. Thank you for your time coming over here. You could have been you had a nice day to work. You didn't get too much fog. Yeah.
No, that's lovely.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Moving on to item 8. Workshop. Shaping the future of the Pātaka for Rākaihautū. Thanks, Peninsula. Bilingual. Welcome, Linda. Just waiting for Peter.
Waiting for me on PowerPoint, and Ken will be back in a minute. Oh, sometime.
You didn't get the red carpet out.
Make an entrance. Thank you. Sorry to hold up.
That's okay.
So we're going to do a workshop on your board planning some priorities. Linda, able Linda, has been doing a lot of work, and I've just come in for the best bits. We're going to help you to review and prioritise the current issues as that's identified on Bates Peninsula. This will take into account your knowledge, Rumanga strategic priorities, staff work streams, and collective insights from around the table. By the end of the session, you will have identified what you believe are key priorities that you can influence on Bates Peninsula. We're doing this with the intention to provide advice and a starting point for the incoming community board to consider when creating its board plan. It's a very tight time frame, post-election to get going, and then get a draft plan together and go out for some consultation. So we want you to be ahead of the game, and it kind of works quite a bit because many of you will be around the table again.
Talking to ourselves.
Well, no, you will have at least 2 new members.
That's true.
So it provides really good background, I think, for the new members to be able to understand where you've been coming from. So the board's main role is to represent, make decisions on, and advocate for the interests of your local communities. The board plan is a foundation document for the whole triennium that guides the board's focus and supports you in your relationship with council and the community. It forms the basis for your annual plan and long-term plan submissions to council, which are 2 of the most important documents that you do. And it enables council units to easily identify priority issues that they can take into account in their planning and work programs. So when considering these priorities, we want you to keep in mind that each one will require associated opportunities, if you like, which the board or staff can action towards achieving them. So we don't want you to just come up with sort of pie in the sky ideas that may never happen or that you can't influence, but things that you think could be actually achieved. I think you've done a really good job, or this board has done a really good job over the 3 terms I've been involved with at evolving the board plan. It gets better every time, really. So the new board will work in a lot more detail than what you're going to be doing today. Of course, that is the role of the new board. So, so let's start, shall we, with a review of priorities. And while we're looking at these slides, if you think of things that you think aren't so relevant now or could be removed, or new things to be added, just make a note of those as we go through, because there's a space for you to bring those forward. Right.
Can I just make a comment here?
Yes.
When I first came on the board, I didn't realise how important this was. The long-term plan is the bones behind what we are and what we do. So you get it right, and when you come in new, you don't know what the hell's going on. So I think this is a really good way to leave it and pass it on. Because, you know, you think, oh yes, this is going to be, this is good. But it's got to be doable, it's got to be real, and, you know, and it's going to determine, you know, as a new board, when they sign up on the plan, they will determine what that's going to look like for 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's very important.
There's plenty more that comes up, of course, during your term.
Yeah.
You know, things will arrive that aren't in your board plan, but there shouldn't be much that is of surprise, really, I believe. So anyway, so now handing over to the lovely Linda to take us through the next.
Yeah, so when you're thinking about the new board plan, you need to keep in mind that each board priority will need to fit into one of the 4 strengthening communities pillars: people, place, preparedness and participation. And alongside council priorities, we work in partnership with the Rūnanga. So we need to keep in mind what is important to them as well. I researched the strategic priorities of Rūnanga on Banks Peninsula, and they have the common clear desire to clean up the waterways as habitat for mahinga kind, ensure the health of both harbours and manage stormwater, which affects both of those things as well. They want to protect the environment for future generations. And additional priorities that not all Rūnanga mentioned included climate change planning, specifically around protection and development of mahinga kai, green energy, self-sufficient living options, and housing to ensure the health and well-being of whānau and the protection of sacred sites. The next few slides are a reminder of all the things Banks Peninsula to get your minds working. Remember to write down anything you think of that we're missing or anything that you think could be removed. One of the ongoing priorities of all of the boards has been access to community facilities across the peninsula to provide a space for connection, well-being and visitor comfort. We know that there are 4 public toilets that are still not on the renewals program, and the board-sponsored facilities audit highlighted a few needs with outstanding items, including those listed here on the slide. In addition to those items, research is currently underway looking into barriers to community access to facilities in Akaroa, and there is an existing community priority around activation of facilities such as the Gaiety, the Sports Pavilion and Dew Cottage. And there's the Little River Coronation Library renovation and activation. Do you have more time to read the list?
Where does Cook cost fit in? Because there would be somewhere, the next board will be making some decisions somewhere.
Yep, so Kukupā is not a community facility, it's a heritage facility and, it's a parks asset. So it's not what, yeah. But it does feature in this, it does feature in the slide, further, in, not in that one, in another one.
Further on,
Yeah.
we do have it. The existing staff work plans, these are projects our staff work with community or other stakeholders that you have an opportunity to support with funding or advocacy. So I'll give you some time to read through those.
They should all be very familiar.
And reserve committees. So in the past, the board has advocated for a continued level of funding for reserve committees. And if allocated, this funding goes into Paul Devlin's big operational melting pot, and he earmarks a certain amount for these Peninsula reserves. I have noted that the adopted LTP planned capital program does not show any funding for reserve committees beyond the financial year 25-26. So your continued support for funding for reserve committees is really important. In addition, the usual funding level doesn't cover special capital projects. It will only cover regular maintenance carried out from reserves and the odd small project subject to available budget. So very soon I'll be asking reserve committees to submit to the board their funding needs for special capital projects that they want to do as we get ready for the next annual plan process. Those that are too big to be covered by Parks operational budget, so that the board can consider supporting their requests within an annual plan submission. This slide shows the last reserve committee annual plan submissions, and the terms of reference state that reserve committees must submit via the board and not directly to council. So they are relying on you to support their goals through the annual plan process. I think that's a really important thing to remember as we make your next board plan priorities. Consideration could be given to prioritising support to reserve committees in respect to their funding needs, both for operational funding and for additional special projects that may not be covered under unit operational budgets. This slide gives you some possible priorities to think about passing on to the new board to consider. The board will only want a few priorities to focus on. In the past, your plan's been bulging with priorities that can clog up the work program and leave you with a sense of disappointment if limited progress is made across the plan. So our advice would be to keep it simple and clear. So we have summarised all that onto a board plan diagram that Jane will put up for you now. But this is a printout, so I'll hand these around. We need to have this in front of you as well as something else up on screen. So, I'll just show you how this diagram works. Sorry, can you put that back up?
It is in the big tin can then.
Yeah. So the bottom left, staff work plans, these are all the things that I've just taken you through on the PowerPoint. Your current board priorities are in the purple box on the left there as well. Reserve committee priorities, going around in the circle there. The common room priorities to the right, and the facilities down there, all come around into your possible priorities in the pink at the bottom. The board plan priorities, green box in the middle, is something that the new board will consider when you're actually formulating your actions that go with each priority. So that's a little bit more in depth than we want to get into today.
Very nice. Well done.
Yeah, so
I don't see my hot balls though.
well, there's time for that. So essentially, the pink at the bottom in the middle is like a summary of all the other boxes.
Yeah.
In a list, if you like.
So Jane will now bring up a table and we can start doing a bit of brainstorming around what you'd like to add or what you think could be removed. Ken's going to leave that and then back to you, Ken.
All right. We've got those coming. Okay, so you'll see the same on the left, a list of the same priorities that are in that. They should be the same as in the pink box on the big diagram in front of you. And we just started listing the kind of themes or the aspects of the outcomes that those priorities would contribute to. And I think it's fair to say that all of those things on the right, tourism, ecology, environment, infrastructure, etc., those are all things that the board has identified in the past and has been concerned about. And we've tried to keep it, the list on the left, we've tried to keep them as practical and specific as possible, really, so that you can know when you achieve something. So should we just whip through them? And this is a good opportunity to say, oh, don't agree with that, or what about such and such, as we're just going through them. Does that now, do we need to stop here for a minute for you to have a ponder? I don't want to just, because, you know, we're very familiar with it, but you may or may not have had time to look at what was on the big team plan. Can I just check what questions have we got at this stage?
I was wondering in the bigger scheme of things before, like this is all quite very specific.
Yes.
One thing I was thinking about that I wondered where it fits in is, so there's mention of social and physical well-being, but that seems to mostly relate to in terms of like providing parks and halls and things like that. But I wondered about things like events that bring community together. There's nothing about that I've seen so far. And I think we have lost a few because people get burnt out by it all. And with COVID, they stopped and didn't start again sometimes.
No, I didn't even tell you to say that.
No, you didn't. We didn't.
So you'd like to see community events?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Did we have it under connected communities? But you're right, events was probably not, it was more on physical things connecting us.
So that means advocating for, funding for?
Yes, I suppose so, yeah. It comes down to the money, where it's going to come from.
My question around that would be, what kind of delegation would the board have for that? I mean, we're able to advocate, but do we have any real ability to help out? And I don't know the answer, so yeah, that's a good question.
I hear what you're saying, and there's a strong push from the other direction, isn't it?
We respond to them.
Some of these priorities listed on the green, the Ronaga priorities. The board doesn't have delegation nor we can influence as such. For example, green energy, self-sufficient living options, housing. With current board, you know, we have anti-social board user that has been a priority for quite some time now, but it's hard to measure it, and it's really hard to influence it. We have been there over and over. I think things like this is, I think we can advocate for it, but keep bringing it as a priority would be like setting ourselves for failure, so we cannot measure it.
Yeah.
Can I just say You did right, and that's I was going to say that earlier, is that it's saying that give me the strength and the wisdom to know the difference of what you can change and what you can't change. Because you've got to go for the things that you can get and influence. Choose the stuff that ain't the most. You've got to know that you're going to go rather than going dead in a dead wall. Yeah, I hear you, thank you.
No, that's really wise. Totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. Okay, well, should we run through the list?
Yes, yeah.
And just check that you actually agree that you want those. This is not, you're not making decisions on behalf of the new board. You're coming up with a list of guidance suggested for the new board to take notice of and think about.
Well, it's very hard, isn't it? When we've got our own people we're representing, this comes down to the fact that we come from different cells.
Yeah.
You know, and it is a matter of trying to get some sort of cohesion in that.
Yeah, because you are all,
we're not all
you're Peninsula at the end of the day.
yes.
Yeah. Right, so thanks Peninsula toilet upgrades, we didn't have that in the past, but
Totally.
you're wanting to be quite a bit more involved, prioritising those, advocating for funding, perhaps.
This is part of the destination management plan, sure. We're going to have some of the people
Yes.
go.
Yes.
Yes, that is the key. The steering group that was supposed to be formed, Kashish and they basically said with this vote that they are not going to have that group. They will prefer rather write a report to the board. I don't think that is going to work. So if the board wants to have a say, then the board wants to have a seat on the table with Kashish and that to have that influence. So if we want any implementation of DP there, so we want that voice on the table who are making this decision, and that is Crash Agenda, and this board has advocated for it, and I think that is the way forward.
So you're happy for that to stay on the list?
Yes,
It's
yeah.
at the bottom there,
So,
all right?
yeah.
Sure. Community facilities, repairs and agreements. You can see there's quite a list of work going on there. Couple of research projects going on with Littleton Rec Centre and the Akaroa access.
In terms of local village plans, I saw it in your presentation, Linda.
Yep.
And it kind of links back to the access to facilities like in Akaroa, which is up there. And that, I'm sure Nigel would agree, for place and spaces plan that was done in 2011 was not fully implemented. Could we advocate for revising that plan?
Yeah,
so that we better
I was going
understand?
to suggest that when I talked to that different plans for the towns. Well, we started with a big village and each level. This is part of a bigger plan.
Okay, so we could add, under the local village plans, we could add Akaroa places and
Yeah, thank
spaces
you.
plan.
Thank you.
It's not exactly the same thing, but it is, but yep, okay, sure.
Mr. Chair.
You can just say a plan or something like that.
So, I think you have something there?
We'll just go back to Littleton, please.
We didn't skip past them, we just wanted, we were already in there.
No, with Littleton, there's a couple of things. With the community facilities one, I think we talked about where Kukupa fits, and I would also ask the same for where Caspace, the steadfast fits. It's not really a council thing, but it's a community thing working with council. I feel that kind of, either it's advocacy or is it parks, and how do we kind of link kind of with that? I don't know how you feel. It's not really council facilities, but it's, you know, yeah, it's kind of falls between,
community,
yeah.
activation.
And then the other one was, we had a Littleton plan too, didn't we? And years ago, yes. There was.
Oh, the master
Something,
the master
plan.
The master plan.
So
which
do
is-
we-
Well, master plan was more about, it's probably similar to the places and spaces one.
Yeah, I
It
think
was more
so.
about, you know, where shops, like that master planning aspect, as opposed to the the Little River and Diamond Harbour ones are the communities.
Right.
Kind of plans for activating their little centres, their villages, how they would like, community versus the council sort of thing.
Yeah, I think Littleton is kind of falling into
You're a suburb of
yeah.
Christchurch.
But it's also very community, and then it's also like new businesses coming in, and do we, I don't know, maybe community needs to reactivate that, or do we kind of look back at the plan?
Littleton planning.
I don't know, just review that one.
But this is just a brainstorm. But
yeah, when it's already there, it's like, is it something worth? It's under advocacy, doesn't quite fall
it's the facility you're talking about.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It's steadfast, or the whole steadfast development?
No, facility. It would be the community part.
Facility.
Yeah, but it never quite fits.
Community facility.
I also wondered where Naval Point fits into this.
Yeah, so Naval Point was, Naval Point was
toilets.
No, Naval Point was a priority.
It was.
In your existing board plan, the Naval Point is a priority.
Yeah.
And the reason that we're suggesting that it doesn't need to be in your little plan is because there's funding for it in the LGP, and there's a lot of work that goes on. So it doesn't mean it's not of value to the board, but it's kind of like, would it be in your top bullets that you are wanting to really push for support when there's already support there? That's what I was. That's what we were thinking.
How does that go then? Sorry, about getting updates and stuff. We'd still get the same updates even if it wasn't on our priority list.
Yeah, and you still get asked to make decisions appropriately. Absolutely, it doesn't exclude you from anything to do with Naval Point. It just means that in terms of the things you want to absolutely go to bat for through those processes that
So it's when you say go to bat for, like money wise, you need to ask money from the
museum.
Yeah.
Littleton Museum,
because it's
probably coming advocacy.
Yeah, and so something like Port Levy toilets, for example, I can't remember all the details, but there's already money for that, you see.
So the capital program was, I think, was that sent? The capital program was there too, wasn't it? We have it here. Was it on the Victim Canal?
No, I've sent, Jane has the link for it. If we wanted to bring up the capital program, I've just got a hard copy of it.
Okay. Good questions, Gillian. I think they're good questions because if they're already in there, you spend your energy on something that may be, or if you think they're threatened in here, work out.
Here we are, Gillian. That's the money we're getting.
245,000. It's in the current. The last year's. Was it last year's budget? But it will just carry forward. That's also why the head-to-head, actually talking about Naval Point before, that's why head-to-head, which was a past, it was in the board plan last time. We're not suggesting it's not in your account because it is funded.
And the public toilet renewals down the bottom, that third from the bottom, we've got funding stock 26-27 financial year.
Remember that they've already been prioritised within this.
Yeah.
So, all that money has already been allocated to particular toilets.
But that's, the board's going to have a workshop.
Yeah,
That's
that's
for
the next LG.
Okay, just, sorry, I'll just notice in here, things on the chair, I believe. The toilets are down on the recreation ground, I see them there for this year. 24, 25, 160,000.
Okay.
Yeah, that is not the toilet, it is the
That's an equal.
Oh, it's an equal course, sorry, pardon me. Because they were in there once and they disappeared.
Well, because, but you'll pick that up when you do your, the workshop with,
Yes.
with Parks about the toilets. You can have a look and see that they are there. And then hopefully influence that, because that would be the purpose of it. And as you can see, Julian, Native Point has still quite a bit of money planned for it.
Yeah, well, it probably needs a lot of money or more because of they haven't decided what they're doing with the breakwater. And that's could be a very big bill.
Wow, yeah. If they replace the breakwater.
I think the bigger they have to. Yeah, definitely. It's right here at meetings.
At the end of the capital, Jane, is that all of it? Do you want to keep going through this? Is this helpful?
Lots of it. There's lots of it. Yeah, it's quite
Can I just ask?
Which thing is so?
Yeah, Donald Street, was that part of our thing, and a museum, Littleton Museum would be kind of the other things that keep coming up, so maybe it needs to be as part of our. Yeah.
So under unused and heritage sites, we've popped in, Kukupā, New Cottage, Donald Street, Hunters Road, the land of course, BP Meats and the former Godly House site. We thought if you had a priority that was unused and heritage sites, you could whack in 6 things into the one. Good bang for your buck, kind of thing. Because they're all really important to you. They've been important to you for different reasons, those sites. Coastal hazards down the very bottom there, advocating for uproar and bays. Marine structures. Marine structures asset planning. So
right, yeah.
We haven't had a lot of marine structure.
No, it's coming.
Planning, planning work.
Yeah, they're doing feasibility.
Right. Right.
They've got extra money in the training to do it.
You know, we've added community events. The Littleton Museum, where would we put that?
Inside the hot dogs.
You can do it. It's not really a community facility, it's
I tell you what, we went to a workshop at the conference and the lawyer talked about what the basics were. And because the government's talking about going back to basics and what he could identify as basics. And museums were basics.
Museums were a basic, weren't they?
Yes, and there's interpretation. Where did you work at the workshop? Yeah, libraries
Libraries and museums because they're community assets. Is that right?
Well, you provided basics. I don't know. Didn't get into the detail of what it was.
Right.
We're just trying to define what the government's saying about getting back to basics.
Right, but they have museums and libraries. That was, so we've made a note of. Thank you.
I mean, in some ways, there is an unused site as well.
Yeah. Can you look at the museum?
That was given.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of underutilized sites, really.
I mean, it's just a continuation of the story from over here. I mean, the kids leave the sign here, and then they came to London. Then they went across. Just a migration.
What else?
Should we go back up to the top and go through them one by one like we started? Because we've been quite long.
We did toilets and facilities.
Yeah.
Reserve committees. Linda spoke to you before about the reserve committee's submissions coming through the board. You've still got the annual sites at both of the camping grounds to resolve. And any other special conditions for any remaining reserve committees. There's a couple here. Those are bodies of the board, so I can't see what they would be specified in the plan personally, but your choice. Resilience community response planning, of course, really highly topical. You have advocated for some funding in the last annual plan, and we've got a small fund for
community resilience equipment, which is for the whole city, and probably half of that's already gone, most of it around the peninsula to date, but there's still plenty more to come. There are plenty of groups still to finalise their plans and get equipment stocked up. Local village plans, we've discussed that. So where did you put the living master plan in?
Yeah, could fit in.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll just kind of quick review and see where if it sits somewhere. Don't want to forget it.
What was it about, sorry, the Emerald Places and Spaces
somewhere else.
review, I think it is somewhere else.
Yes,
Under community facilities and agreement. Okay.
Yeah, just move it down to there, I think.
So it's all the one.
Pop it under the planning, but yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jane.
Under reserve committee priorities, it says Little Ecclewall seawall maintenance. Was it Little Ecclewall or Pigeon Bay?
Pigeon Bay was had
Because I was aware of Pigeon Bay.
Oh, yeah, pigeons on the list with, it's both, I think the answer.
Okay.
So it is both.
Yeah. Stormwater management / flooding, huge priority. The flooding stuff, we've got the little around table groups up and running. I know the bonds and Lakaloa are wanting some flooding stuff as well. So that's just an eternal thing that's growing. Antisocial road users. Now, are you suggesting you talked about that before, RC? Are you suggesting that
we can't influence there and we can't measure that, the given that, I think.
So you're setting yourselves up to fail by having it in the plan?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you don't advocate for
Exactly.
it. It doesn't mean you don't.
Which we've already started.
Yeah.
Yeah, the board's done a submission, well, it's a council submission, actually, they talked about it this morning, but it's just whether they want to do a plan, so probably not anti-social road users. Educate, board membership.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's what, S said, I'm just.
Yes.
Yeah, pop it in there. Yeah. Some influence, good luck there. Yes, because and the whole tourism future for the peninsula is such a massive aspect.
Oh, that's right in the hospitals, right?
Oh, so right. So you're going to talk about.
Yes, can I have a few minutes just to explain why I have this growing passion for hospitals? I mean, Rākaihautū as a destination has suffered for decades because of the seasonality aspect of it. They've discussed getting hot balls here for over 30 years that I know of, different plans have come up and been looked back. They talked about having them off the beach here. They talked about having them on different sites. So you would drill for hot water at the bottom of the Royal Pool, looking for hot water. But now that they've got all this technology with the hot pools that are very environmental, the ones that I guess the blueprint is the methane hot pools, and the fact that there can be a good business plan built around them, there is now a growing surge of interest back into that because it would save Rākaihautū and a lot of businesses in Rākaihautū and help it grow in a balanced way through tourism that is fitting in with the destination management plan. This hooks into it as well because it is bringing in tourists. We've got a couple of sites that are available and they look straight over the harbour where you can see the night sky, dark sky at night and the Aurora Australis. And as I did a submission probably a couple of years ago to council, I said you can watch the sun come up down in New Brighton and come over here, spend the night and have a romantic evening over here. Because in the calm winter nights over here, the dark skies are amazing. And there is a place to do it, and there's a real interest in supporting that in a business environment Right, and I'll tell you, there's not a person in this town that I've met that is not for it. And it would absolutely save it and help build the destination management and tourism, where it's all soft-footed and eco-tourist focused. Thank you.
So would you like Akaroa hot pools added to the destination management plan list?
Well, I'm very passionate about it, but it all fits with obviously building the town in a balanced way and not having this seasonality where we're overused, money's underspent, no one stays here. There's a whole balance of.
Okay. So, yeah, it's a brainstorm. You're allowed to, we can put it up there.
Anyway, I'm for any responses to that. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments to make?
Oh dear.
Well, it's not going to come out of the budget.
Okay, thank you. And then, yes,
not to do with that, I wouldn't want to touch your hot pools. Before we scroll down, can I add something to the toilets? If that's okay, that Apaki toilet as well, that needs to repair. The door on it.
It needs a repair.
It does, yeah.
Okay, sure. Have you done a snap sensor?
No, it was actually Andrew, but he thought he had submitted something, but he hadn't.
Okay, so
yeah.
look, I would look if it's an immediate maintenance, then get a do a CSR because it needs to be fixed.
Okay.
This is more about upgrades. You know, and we can pop it up there and then take care of it at the workshop.
I think something around an environmentally friendly toilet, compostable toilet, rather than what we've already got there. I don't know if
that's a workshop discussion. Definitely a workshop discussion. So more eco-friendly, sustainable, low water use, all of that. Thank you. The sites one, underutilised, unused and heritage sites. Are there any others that we have missed?
Possibly the Scout Den.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The
Customs house.
Sorry?
Customs.
The customs house, I guess.
That's a building. It's
still unused, isn't it?
It has a purpose.
Well, it's a
and it's funded.
Yes. People need an interpretation.
Okay. Customs House, Akaroa.
Yes.
Red House, it came to the board.
There's a plan
part
on
of
that.
it. Oh,
Yeah. Part of Takapiniki, isn't it?
I suppose Steadfast as well, the whole landscape thing, wasn't it? That was, and the Steadfast building was part of the whole,
I think there is a
thing
landscape development
done,
isn't there?
yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
Steadfast. So.
Okay, that's cool, it's already done.
Yeah.
Just picking up on what you said about the Red House. Yeah, I think that is that part of Takapiniki, so.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, this is coming to. Yeah. Other sites?
It's more educated in our current plan for improving the fire resilience of Peninsula. So we can put something like that there. I don't know where it would come under.
That would be up in the climate change, but resilience planning around.
We've got
I guess fire is a big problem that happen.
True.
Oh, yeah, could we put it up under the community, the resilience plan? Is it up and down? Where is the resilience? It's up. Oh, the resilience, community response plan. So including fire resilience is what you're thinking?
Yes, yeah.
I see.
Improve fire resilience, yeah. Thank you.
No, sorry, just Linda, do you got anything to say? You're very quiet up there.
No, I am quiet, but I think you guys are covering a lot of it. So yeah, I'm trying to kick my brain into first, second, third gear, getting there.
Yeah, talking about plans, what about the Port Hills plan? Because that kind of fits under fire, but it's also in the early stages. I'm not sure if it's funded, but it kind of goes not just Port Hills, but definitely Peninsula
right.
as well. Because I think it goes Port Hills all the way to Gibbies minutes.
Well, you can add it to the list.
Add it to
because
the list
new
and
board-
see how.
The new board will
Yeah.
prioritise all of this and you can pick out,
I know it's been broad.
pick out the things you want to put in the plan. Right. 'Cause you don't, you know, I think you only want to end up with between 7 and 9.
I know,
So
it
go up
comes
to
down to
9,
something.
But it's just stuff we've heard and it's been brought up, you don't want to follow.
Coastal hazards, we've got that. Marine restrictions. Community events, so.
I, noticing something.
Speak up.
Nothing for use or.
Use.
Or mature.
Oh, look, we'll have a hot call for them.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kathy.
Good thought. Thank you, Liz, for youth, because we've talked about youth, like doing stuff, but we want to bring more youth. Yeah, in the broader sense, like youth group stuff, because they kind of, what do they fall under? I think they came under discretionary strengthening, we might have given something to, but then it's like youth going to, yeah, so do they have their own category, but some.
What about the, what are you talking about?
Oh, it's maybe more support, but or do they just fall under discretionary or they're part of our community, strengthening communities?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was growing up in this community. We didn't have anything, but we had everything. You know what I mean? And so,
Well, I know Littleton struggles with getting youth group stuff going, and I think like Diamond Harbour's come for youth group stuff, and they've talked about youth group stuff, I think around Diamond Harbour, they have a group or something, so yeah.
It's funded, I think, through strengthening
Yeah,
communities.
so is it under strengthening communities?
Yeah.
But recognising
the
that,
series that will be
Yeah.
organised.
and there's discretion, yeah,
Program through the holidays and things.
but recognising.
Is it tied in through
Yeah.
recreation centres?
Yeah, but they have to kind of come and.
It'd be nice to
fit
see
in
that
that
came
brand.
into that research. Milton.
Yeah, it doesn't come and go.
So what is, are you wanting to get on that list, or would you just see
Well,
that you take?
If you think youth just is a discretionary event, or is it something that's important, like seniors, because we have age concern as part of our kind of liaison thing. And we have a lot of seniors in Diamond Harbour.
There's a lot of seniors that are up.
That's right, so maybe in terms of community, do we put them under a special category of community well-being, or just discretion?
People under come under social and physical well-being.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
but that
it would be like a sector.
a sector, yeah, so that's the word,
That
maybe.
then, yeah, so not in that list, but that it ends up being a filter that you're
And the
applying when
community.
you're looking at projects and things, because you can, you can run
Yeah.
through a list of all sorts of
Yeah.
things, but how big
We've
is
got a
your
community house.
That's fine. That's
Yeah, so just recognising.
Using any more for any more, any more hot pool ideas? Any more?
No, but I think the model should be, the one out of Methven. Methven is the same Methven.
How is it funded?
That's a very good question, that's something we will find out.
You'll need to, this is the magic question.
I haven't seen it, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Night Harvey expressed an interest in.
Okay, cool. Bigger than being here. It will be bigger than, yeah. Okay, well, look, that's really cool. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for all those wonderful ideas and expansion of what we have pulled together from all of the stuff that's happened in the last 3 years. We look forward to meeting with the new board. Yeah. And Linda will be compiling all of that and presenting it to the new board as part of the development of the new board plan.
Fantastic, well, thank you very much, and thank you, Linda and staff and Ken, and for the wonderful things you do. And I think it's great to pull this through, because this hadn't happened for the previous ones. So rather than getting thrown in the deep end, it's something to think about. That's something in the mind.
Yeah, trying to be ahead of the game.
That's right, paying for it. And that's it. Thank you very much. That's it, so we will
Closing.
close the carriage here. Thank you very much, guys, and thank you for making those well.